Okay, hello. So this is a video based on the book Reading, Writing, and Talk, and I really enjoyed getting to look through and read this book. I think it's super beneficial for teachers to have and keep and get to revisit because it really allows us to be as culturally responsive and equitable in the classroom for every type of learner as we can. So the first question is, how do authors describe literacy? And one of the main points that the author says right off the bat is that literacy is much deeper than just reading and writing skills. The author also says that literacy is a social, cultural, and communicative practice, meaning that literacy is not just about reading a story or writing on a worksheet, not just about like isolated skills like phonics or decoding, but it's about making connections and really understanding every aspect of the world around us. It's about understanding cultures that could be different from your own. So we don't want to live in a bubble all the time. And as students and as teachers, we have to be really wary of all cultures. Literacy involves the languages that students speak at home. So I think it's super important to kind of tie in different student dialect. We should be focusing on different vocabulary that students may use in their household versus what they use at school. It highlights that it should be revolved around collaborating and making connections, like stated before. And literacy, students bring cultural assets to school, and as teachers, we should be playing into those rather than nixing them, because in order for our classroom to run smoothly, in order for our students to feel comfortable and secure and be okay with making mistakes and feeling ready to learn, our curriculum has to be culturally responsive. We have to be making these connections. We have to allow students to share huge parts of them, because a student's culture is what makes them them, and literacy is about more than just reading and writing. It's about making connections to the world around us. As for my overall thoughts on the book, it's very positive, and I can definitely see myself going back to different strategies that were emphasized in the book in order to make my classroom as equitable as possible. This book is really rich and it's super powerful, as it provides practical teaching strategies to make our classroom equitable, but it also kind of challenges that, and it challenges the traditional definition of literacy as just reading worksheets, phonics, and it focuses more on the cultural side of it, and kind of catering to any type of diverse learner. One thing that really stuck out to me was I really like how the author focused on something called an equity lens. So, we as teachers should be taking all of these thoughts and backgrounds and literacy skills, dialects, home languages, and we should be putting value on these. So we should be thinking of any of these things that students are bringing to the table as value, and we should be using an asset-based lens in order to kind of use these in a positive way and use these as a way of teaching. This book also pushes teachers to reflect on their own classroom teachings and biases and how they may not be as culturally responsive as they should. So it kind of allowed me to think back and see like maybe how I would tweak a lesson or how I would kind of play into different cultures or dialects. Um, it also challenges the idea of being correct around the topic of student language. So teachers should not be viewing one language as correct or one way of speaking as correct, and they should not be viewing certain dialects as wrong, but rather treat student dialect or home language as important and something that makes them them. Like I said, I really enjoyed this book, and definitely could see myself using it. And it teaches teachers how to build upon student culture and identity, using literacy and using literacy in a positive way. So I have seen a few aspects of the book in my field placement. I'm currently placed in a fourth grade classroom. So one of the topics that the author emphasizes is using student backgrounds to keep the classroom equitable and culturally responsive, which we have stated previously. And one thing I saw that was really great and I really, really appreciated was during morning meeting, some of the students some of the students in the class celebrate the religious holiday Diwali. And so my mentor teacher asked like kind of what they do and how they celebrate and what they did over the weekend because the holiday had just passed. So they got to share that. Students got to ask questions. And then a few days later, one of the girls was like really into it, like wanted to share more about it. So she brought in a book from home that talked about Diwali. It was about this little girl who was kind of nervous about going to school because she was going to share about a holiday that wasn't as common in schools, which was Diwali. And we read the book together, and my mentor teacher read the book to the class, and the student was just smiling the whole time because she got to see some of her in the class, which was really nice. Like I said, the story focused on different foods, traditions, celebrations, etc. And a lot of her classmates were super excited to learn about this. And they even asked follow-up questions like, what kind of food is that? Oh, what kind of things do you wear? And it boosted engagement and motivation or in regards to wanting to learn, which is so important, especially in literacy. And then also in the book, it emphasized that talk is a very important tool when it comes to literacy. So my students do a lot of group work. So they answer textbook questions, they collaborate, they've made posters, which allows them to learn about each other. The book emphasizes that talking to each other is the foundation of making connections, collaborating, and learning about the world around them, which promotes a tight-knit classroom community, which also promotes a culturally responsive classroom so students from different homes can learn about each other. And yeah, I've seen a lot of different aspects of this book in my field placement. Okay, and for the last question, it is, what is the role of teachers in cultivating literacy and equitable and quality classroom instruction, and how can this impact student learning? So as teachers, we have one of the most important roles in the classroom. We have a very important role in how students experience literacy. We must create an inclusive classroom where all cultures, backgrounds, languages, and dialects are highlighted and valued. We should be building upon an asset-based perspective, meaning especially on like diversity and diverse learners in the classroom, meaning that we should notice the ways in which students are thriving and excelling, and we should be building on that. We should be building on their strengths. We should be focusing on their strengths. We should be highlighting student backgrounds in text so students can see themselves in the classroom, which boosts motivation and engagement and makes them want to learn. When teachers are culturally responsive and cultivate literacy in this way, their students can build a stronger identity as a reader and a writer, and by using their cultures and backgrounds, they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel comfortable, they feel secure, they feel confident in making mistakes, because mistakes is the way we learn. So if you're using like their backgrounds, that will make them more comfortable and make them feel secure in that space. Students will be able to gain confidence, like I said, and use this to ask deeper rooted questions. So all of these together kind of make students motivated, engaged, and build their identity as a reader and a writer. And as teachers, we are responsible in the ways that we teach literacy, and we should be teaching literacy in a way that is equitable and culturally responsive.